A former Milwaukee police officer now faces a homicide charge for the shooting death that sparked days of violence in Sherman Park.
Dominique Heaggan-Brown is currently in jail on unrelated sexual assault charges. It was August 13th Heaggan-Brown shot and killed Sylville Smith. According to a criminal complaint released this morning, Heaggan-Brown and another officer chased Smith on foot after he ran from a car. The officer's body cameras show Smith was carrying a semi-automatic pistol. In the complaint, Heaggan-Brown claims Smith had pointed the gun at officers before he shot him. But the district attorney's office says body cam video is at odds with what Heaggan-Brown says happened, and Smith was unarmed when the officer fired the second fatal gunshot.
Eric Ross is live at City Hall with what investigators found. Eric.
Good afternoon. The criminal complaint we obtained this morning does indeed reiterate that Sylville Smith was armed at the time he was shot. However, he did not point the gun at any time toward former police officer Dominique Heaggan-Brown. Instead, court documents say Sylville Smith was tossing a gun over a fence while fleeing from officers. As he was tossing the gun, Heaggan-Brown fired one shot, striking Smith in his arm. More than a second and a half later, Heaggan-Brown fired a second shot, which hit Smith in his chest. The criminal complaint said at the time the second shot was fired, Smith was unarmed and had his hands near his head. Milwaukee Mayor Tom Barrett had this to say in response to the district attorney's decision to charge Heaggan-Brown.
One of the most important parts of this entire investigation was as a result of the body cameras that were worn by our Milwaukee police officers. If this case had occurred 10 years ago or 15 years ago, we would not have that evidence.
And back out here live, we're told that shooting of Sylville Smith was captured on two separate body cameras. However, that footage is not being released right now because of the ongoing criminal investigation and, of course, the now murder charges Heaggan-Brown now faces. Now, coming up on Live at 5, we'll tell you what prompted former Milwaukee police officer Dominique Heaggan-Brown to pull Smith over in the first place. For now, reporting live inside City Hall downtown, Eric Ross, today's TMJ4.
Okay, Eric, thank you.
That shooting of Sylville Smith triggered 2 days of unrest in the Sherman Park neighborhood.
Local businesses and cars were vandalized, set on fire, and destroyed, causing millions of dollars in damage. Windows on police vehicles were also smashed. At least one officer was hurt when the windshield on his squad was shattered. Investigators are still offering a reward for information, leading to the arrest of those involved in the burglaries and arson.
Heaggan-Brown is already in jail. He was arrested in October on charges of sexual assault and soliciting prostitution. That investigation includes 4 victims. 2 of them claim Heaggan-Brown sexually assaulted them. One of the assaults is said to have happened the night after he shot and killed Sylville Smith.
The attorney for the family of Sylville Smith says prosecuting Heaggan-Brown is the first step toward justice in this case. David Owens says down the road he will be filing a civil lawsuit against the city of Milwaukee.
Why did they hire this guy in the first place? How would this officer allowed to use the authority of law enforcement in doing this and in doing the other things that we now know he did?
The Smith family said today they appreciate the decision to charge Heaggan-Brown. They added, "We also appreciate this is but the first step in holding that officer accountable, but a necessary step in bringing some measure of justice."
Coming up at 4:30, Milwaukee Police Chief Ed Flynn holding a news conference on the homicide charge filed against his former officer. We're going to carry that live when it begins.